There's a timeline where everything going on in the world is magnified times 10. It's way worse than it actually is. There are timelines where certain agendas are being brought out, whether that has to do with vaccines or whether that has to do with other intentions. There are many different versions, many different timelines of this Great Awakening. And in this video, I'm going to share with you what some of those may be and what we need to do to make sure we're on the most optimal timeline possible during the Great Awakening. During the Great Awakening, which is something that I believe is happening on the planet right now. I believe that it will continue to increase, and I really believe that right now is the most important time and exciting time to be alive than ever before on the planet. So in this video, I'm going to show you exactly what that is, what you can do, and what you need to know. Alright guys, welcome back to another video. My name is Aaron, and I help people expand their consciousness and raise their vibration by making spirituality practical and relatable. Alright, so in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you more about the Great Awakening. I've been making videos. If you haven't seen my videos on the Great Awakening, you can click the link below. You can, there's be a playlist of all the Great Awakening videos. Now, the Great Awakening, you might be wondering, what is this thing? And first off, you might be wondering, where's Aaron right now? Well, I am in Sedona. You guys want to see some of the views? Look at these views. Look at the views, okay? This is the views. It's got like a really, this Sedona, Arizona. Amazing energy here. There's energy vortexes everywhere. They're everywhere. Okay, now let me show you. Let me show you one more view and then I'll get into the video, okay? I'm just trying to show a little context where I'm at. Let's see. See? Look at that. Look how amazing that view is. Okay. Anyways, I got that off my chest. I couldn't not share that with you. Now, when it comes to the Great Awakening, what is happening is so many people are beginning to question reality because of what's going on in the world right now. So there is a lot of stuff going on, and people are realizing that when they look at the media, when they look at things they're being told, that a lot of it is controlled, a lot of it in a way is being projected to keep people in fear and anger, and people are beginning to question things. I have friends that have never been into this kind of information that are beginning to awaken to it. As a lot of people are home alone, they are looking into different things, going down different rabbit holes, beginning to question reality in a new way, also going within doing their own spiritual work. And if you studied the work, just to give I have like a little general summary of all of this, but the works that I recommend that help understand more of this is that of Dolores Cannon's, any of her 19 books, or that of The Law of One Material, which talks about the harvest. And right now what's happening on the planet is what I believe is called the harvest. And the harvest is where we're moving from one density of consciousness into a new density of consciousness. I've known about this since like 2012. I've been studying this, but I put it in the background because it was not happening, I think, as quickly as I thought it was. Now, with these things going on, the most important thing is to do your own inner work. Our reality really is a reflection of our inner reality, and as we each go through and begin to raise our vibration, we will find ourselves on a better and better timeline as we go through this process. Now, recently, one thing that we did is we did a meditation. There were over 1.1 million people all around the world doing a global meditation on love, healing, sending healing to those affected by what's going on right now, and also shifting to the most optimal timeline. That's one thing that my intention was with everything. We had over like 12,000 people live at one point. It was incredible just on this YouTube channel. You can click the link below. That was the meditation for shifting to the most optimal timeline, and I explained a little bit why that's so important. But what we do is the meditation effect is many of us teaming up together to do this. It is literally changing our timeline. And we did that. It was very powerful that we all did that as well, because that is helping us to be on better and better timelines. Now, let's look at some of these different timeline options. Now, basically, the way that I like to, when I explain these things, I try not to do it with fear, okay? Now, the reason being is when we hear about like a darker elite amount of people that have been keeping people in the dark about a lot of things. You know, when I went through my awakening in 2012, I learned about, I was asking questions like, why don't people understand that we create our own reality? Why don't we learn a lot of this in school in some ways and learn meditation, which is scientifically proven to like have so many benefits? And what I eventually found was that you do go down the rabbit hole long enough, you'll see that a lot of information is controlled, a lot of information is kind of guarded, And there are people that know that, though. It's like, I can't be the only one that understands this. I realize there's a lot of people that understand this. It's just that, you know, when you look out in the world, you think there's fear, you think there's all this stuff going on because of the way the media portrays the world, and then that keeps us in safety mechanism, and there's a certain purpose behind all that. Basically what in a way happened is many people got together and said, hey, if we control the narrative, if we own all the media companies, and we make the world appear to be very, very fearful, and we put people and keep people in that fear and anger bubble, they're less likely to remember who they are, they're less likely to be powerful, and they're more likely to adhere to authority, being told what to do, and to believe that we need to pay like a, you know, 30-something, 40% tax, and all of these other, you know, stipulations have been placed that we just think are natural. This is normal. I need the roads, but we don't necessarily know where everything goes, you know. So what happens is, then it's like, okay, well, if we can control the narrative, then we can control the resources, and if we control the resources, we have the power. Well, now what was happening is we're moving from a third density level of consciousness into a fourth density level of consciousness. Third density has ruled the planet for a long time, and part of what that's been is control, and it's been an imbalance of that control at that, and keeping a lot of people in the dark. The level we're moving into is more of connection, whereas the third density was more of individuality and separation. So as we move into the fourth density, it's about connecting, it's about openness. You know, you may notice that a lot of, you know, I noticed that it's so much easier to read people nowadays. You can read people's emotions and people's vibes in general. Everything's coming to the surface to where these things are just we're more and more aware of them than ever before. And when it comes to the Great Awakening, it's about millions and millions and billions of people waking up to who they really are, waking up to their own power as well, taking the power back. The power was never really given. We always have power, but the idea is that we've been kind of siphoning it and not aware of it, not embodying it, because we believe that we don't have it as a collective. So the different timelines that exist, some of the different options that I kind of intuitively feel that there's these people, basically what's happening is as the vibration on the planet continues to raise, this group of people that has had the power for a long time and kept a lot of people in dark, they're pulling tricks out of their sleeves that they can do to orchestrate certain levels of fear to keep people in the lower vibrational states of consciousness to also keep the power. Now, if you go a little bit deeper with this as well, you could say in a way, this is going to sound very esoteric to a lot of people, and I understand that, but there are different densities of levels of consciousness. And part of the fourth density as well is there may be what are called fourth density astral beams. So we have an astral body. Every night when all of us goes to bed, we wake up to higher states of consciousness, but we don't remember it. It's not always relevant that we remember. Some people do remember it, but that's a different level of consciousness. Now what happens is over our reality is a different level of consciousness that we don't necessarily see with our eyes. Some intuitive people might be able to see it. But what happens is there are negative beings, you could say, within this fourth. I know that sounds very esoteric, and I understand that. But what's happening in a way is as the vibration increases on the planet, less and less of the negative 4D astral beings can be here because the vibration is increasing. So this darker elite amount of people, what they do is they say, okay, if we can keep the vibration low on the planet, we can keep more of this negative energy here. If the negative energy is here, it's easier to control. But as the vibration is increasing, it's becoming less and less easily being able to control. That's what's happening right now on the planet. Now, the tricks up these sleeves of these darker elite people may include things like vaccines, which I recommend. Everything I'm telling you right now as well, do your own research with it. I'm not here to tell you what to believe. I'm just here to report kind of the different patterns that I've noticed when I've done this kind of studying. So some of the timelines that could exist are that of maybe the vaccinations being brought out, mandatory, things like that. And I'm not saying this to put you into fear. What I believe is happening though is so many people are waking up that it is incredible. If you were to go to like Bill Gates' Instagram and look at his newest comment on his photo, you'll see thousands of comments of people that are awake and saying no to different things. And it is incredible to see how many people are waking up to this kind of information. And like hundreds of thousands of people on one commented post. And it is incredible. But one timeline that exists is where that actually gets brought out. There could be a timeline that exists where everything going on in the world right now is way, way worse than it actually is. You know, there are many different timelines that exist when it comes to this, but what is happening is people are waking up. So the most important thing that we can do is what we can do is realize that whatever we do right now in the window of what's happening, you guys may know, some of you may know I'm a big, I like Bashar, who's been bringing through information for like 30 years. And one thing that he's recently said is that what we do in the next like 6 months is going to profoundly impact either the acceleration in the future or a deceleration in the future of things like first contact, for example, where we've had, and once again, I know that a lot of this may sound very esoteric. I'm getting more and more comfortable with sharing it unapologetically. It's just, I'm starting to realize like how many people listen to my videos and stuff, and how out there it probably seems for some people. But this is stuff that I really believe. You do the research. You'll start to see these kinds of patterns, you know. Now, something that I believe is happening is, there's awareness of ETs have existed for quite a while. It's been very well kept by the government, whatever, behind the government, whatever we call it. And what's happening is us actually having contact, I believe, is possible in our lifetime for this information to come through with benevolent, loving beings. You know, most higher dimensional beings understand that we are connected to them. So the ones that are higher, that are more evolved than us, they don't want to hurt us because they realize they are us. We have connections here in this life. We have connections at higher level of consciousness to all around the universe, not just Earth. Our soul is that vast that we also have what we could call connections to those other realities. Now, what's happening though is right now there's a merging of all these different timelines happening. So we have the opportunity in our lifetime to have what we could call first contact with loving, benevolent beings. This is something I believe can happen. Some Bashar's talked about for a long time. However, whether that accelerates and happens or deaccelerates is up to us and what we do in this next like 6 months of what's going on right now in the world. Now, the most powerful thing that we can do is to heal within ourselves, is to feel the emotion inside of ourselves, to allow it to be there, to let go of what no longer serves. And the more we do this within ourselves, the more we also do it in the planet. And the key to this as well is many of us looking to optimal timelines. When you go down, the thing I don't want happen to people that go down the rabbit hole with certain things is to then be in complete fear of everything that's happening. Because then that's feeding the old paradigm. So I remember when I went through and I started learning about certain theories and things like that, which, have your own discernment with, but is that sometimes it's so negative that it actually dampens the vibration. So I recommend it in small packets sometimes if you're studying it, but at the same time, the other thing that I recommend is to know that you don't have to feed the power and give the power away. Understand that we're becoming aware of our own power, and as we do, it's going to change everything in our reality. So understand as well that what I think is happening is going to be pockets of energy. So people are like, what about these? What about mandatory vaccines? All this stuff. Well, what if that is one pocket? Like if people are focused on that, if people are in fear, they're feeding that energy, they're feeding that timeline, and maybe that increases the probability of them experiencing it. But what happens is there's different pockets of different timelines on the planet, so where then people don't experience that, they don't feed it, they don't believe they have to experience that. You see, that's why I'm not afraid of it. I believe that the more we get afraid of it, the more we're like telling everyone else to and it creates this resistance, the more it's actually growing it. But the more we're aware of it and we just say, no, I don't choose that, and we don't put energy into it, the more we choose new timelines. So awareness is powerful, but feeding it after we're aware is actually feeding the old realities. So when I talk about these the great timeline split, understand that it's about understanding your own energy and raising your own vibration, and also visualizing the most optimal timeline. When we get together and we do meditations like that, we are literally increasing the probability of certain timelines happening. Imagining many, many kids being saved from underground facilities that may be used in very dark ways. Trafficking, human trafficking. Those are becoming aware to the surface. Where more and more people, I was at my buddy at Drew's, I'm in Sedona right now. My buddy Drew's here, and I'm going to go see him in a little bit. But when I was at his house in San Diego recently, I met a lady there that was there for EMFs and cleaning out his house. And she said that she had a friend that's a nurse in the Midwest, like Idaho or something. And there was earthquakes there. But she said what happened was there was 1,200 kids that were freed from some type of underground facility place where they were being kept against their will, and they were being used for very dark purposes, and now they're being reintegrated, brought back into society. And it's very that to me, because I've heard about that for a long time, about how some of these really dark elite people use different energy sources, and kids have very powerful energy, so they do really horrible things. But then hearing that from someone that I never met before, is like, yeah, I have a friend that's a nurse that is, you know, that called me and said she's helping to revive. They have 1,200 kids in this hospital that they're recouping and doing all this stuff with. I'm like, wow, this really is happening. But the fact that we're on a timeline where I even heard that is a good sign, you know. So I think that these kids are being brought out. I think that this darkness is being brought up to the surface so that we become aware of it. And then the better timelines involve us being aware of it, processing it, letting it go, and then feeling free. So the best thing that we can all do is visualize the most optimal timelines and understand that this is something that's happening. The vibration on the planet is going to continue to increase. When we did that meditation on April 5th, the Schumann resonance shot up to an unprecedented amount. That's the resonance of the planet. So we on the planet are able to add and accelerate this transition, but the key is understanding our own power, visualizing the most optimal timeline, not feeding the fearful ones, feeling the emotions that come up and then letting them go, and understanding that this great awakening, I believe, is happening. Now the acceleration of it, the deacceleration of it depends on us. And the best thing we can do is realize that, be aware of it, and then raise our own vibration. Are we doing what we're passionate about? Are we breaking out of old belief systems, old belief structures? You know, I think there's a reason I have some videos on my channel that are getting so much attention, and I never thought that they would. Like one on the three hidden agendas I believe that are going on behind the scene. I'll go ahead and link that. You can see that at the end of this video. Check out that video. It'll shine light on a lot of these things I'm talking about that you may not be aware of. So check out that video. Other than that, subscribe if you haven't already. I got a lot more videos coming out like this. Like it and let me know what you thought of it. And if you want me to make more videos like this. So with that being said, I'll see you on the next video. Peace, much love, and namaste.